It is almost and it is about 11:30, and I reluctantly take my dog outside so he can do his business. I just logged off of Facebook, and this is the last thing I have to do before I can go to bed. I've been busy all week. Nothing but chaos at my office. I only wish that when I go to sleep tonight, I could wake up and never go to work again. I get my dog's leash and wake him up for his slumber. He is only 10 weeks old and is very small. I fear that if I do not lose his leash, he could get lost outside in my dark maze of a backyard. He could either get lost or eaten by a coyote. My dog and I ventured off to a small grass surrounded by the trees. He wandered out towards the middle of the yard and sniffs the ground. To my left, I hear some slight rustling coming from the edge of the backyard where the shed is. I think nothing of it, and it is mostly coming from the neighbors. They are always fixing something in their basement. My dog finds his spot and lifts his leg to pee. I begin to tap in front of my foot out of impatience as he is taking his sweet time, and I would like to go to bed. He is finished, but then he begins to sniff around again. I roll my eyes as there is another louder noise coming from the shed. It sounded like someone or something is banging against the walls on the side. I think that they might be a small animal of a rather large trapped in the shed. It could be a wolf or a deer. If it were a bear, it would have destroyed the shed by now. I make sure my dog is done and take him inside. I exchange his leash with a LED flashlight and venture back out to the darkness. The banging occurs in the intervals. It switches back and forth and 3 bangs of a second or 2 bangs of a second. Whatever is trapped in there certainly wants to get out. I walk over to the shed and look through the side window. I press up my face against the glass and cup of eyes and attempt to see whatever is causing all the commotion. The banging continues as I spread my legs apart, about to steady myself, so the vibration of the shed does not keep me from falling over. Suddenly 2 large, white eyes appear from the darkness in the shed and fly at the window. I do not have time to react. Fortunately, the glass does not break, but the force of my window shaking and the shock of whatever it is throw back on me to the ground. I drop my flashlight and it rolls onto the corner of the shed. I slowly get up and shoveled over to the other side of the shed. This is not what I wanting to right away before I go to bed. The flashlight is pointing its light at the door, which is still shaking from the violent banging. I picked up the flashlight and shine it on the door. The paddock onto the shed is fully locked, and I haven't fully opened the shed in 4 days. How did this animal get in here? I turned and started walking back towards the house to go get the key. I should probably get my gun too. Whatever is in there could have rabies. I grab the keys off the rack and go to my office to get my Beretta. I slipped the gun into the back pocket and heard the back noise outside to release whatever noise-making hellspawn is trapped in my shed. I get to the shed and the banging has slowed. Maybe the animal is giving up? I take the keys out from my other pocket and shuffle through them until I have found the shed key. The banging is no longer slowing down, but speeding up. With each bang, the shed shakens more and more, and the door is practically flying off its hinges. It would have been kicked down by now if it weren't for the lock hook on it. I struggled to steady and lock the door with the violent shaking of the door. I slowly inserted my key into the lock and turned it. Just the turn is complete, the banging stops. There is no bang afterwards. I quickly take off the lock and open the door to see what was inside. I move the flashlight back and forth to see nothing. I take a few steps and flip the light switch on the wall to my left. The interior of the shed is now lit. There is no animal in there. Nothing what caused the hell I went through to help keep invisible trapped animal. But what about those eyes? They were those big white eyes. Then I looked through the window. and they were right as I was standing. I looked around. The barely noticeable damage is just a spilled bag potting soil on the shelf on the left corner. This was an utter waste of time. Just as I turned around, two eyes revealed themselves in the woods next to the shed. The eyes stare at me as I am too paralyzed to move. I cannot even leave the gaze of these orbs in the darkness. Suddenly the door slams shut and the lights turns off. I tried to turn on the light, but there is no longer any power. I turn on my flashlight and frantically wave it throughout the shed. I heard a clicking outside of the door, and it is locking the door. Whatever is there locking the door on me. I unleash all my energy at the door in an attempt to kick it down. It won't even budge. I turn and the eyes were there by the window, peering in, looking at me and taunting me. It is mimicking my actions. Suddenly the flashlight in my hand is gone, and it is now outside of the window, shining up at me. I run up and hit the window. The flashlight and the eyes disappear. I am trapped in utter darkness. I bang violently on the walls of the shed. I kick the door. I kick the window. I turn to grab a shovel from the tool rack and swing it repeatedly into the window, but the glass refuses to shatter. I am a prisoner of this thing. The eyes have returned outside of the window. They continue to stare in. Then another pair appears right next to them on their right. Then another pair is on their left. This is a nightmare. Maybe I'm passed out when I took my dog outside, and this is a dream. Yes, I pray to God that this is what was happening. But this isn't. I am here in the shed, being observed by these creatures, and there is no escape. A pair of eyes appears in the darkness next to me. I swing the shovel at them, but nothing happens. They continue to stare. Another pair materializes behind me. Then on my other side, more and more pairs reveal themselves to be in the shed with me. I swing the shovel throughout the crowd of the shapeless monster, and it does nothing but drain the energy from my body. I fall to my knees and drop the shovel. I am exhausted. I gave up. And that, my pretties, was The Tool Shed, a creepypasta written by the Hooded Werewolf, also known as Zach Zerman. I'm just gonna place this as the Hooded Werewolf. My final thoughts on this story. Alright, I actually found this one to be quite a freaky, interesting creepypasta in my own personal thoughts in the matter of ways. Now, I did hear of this story from Silver Stories about, he did a narration of it back like 5 years ago. I actually listened to it at least a couple weeks ago, and I honestly really liked the story. Now, I know Seabass also did a narration of this. The fact of, someone owning a puppy dog and they go in the shed to see what was going on there, it appears to be like something was inside it. Now, I think it could be some evil spirit that was in the shed making those weird things and all that, but yet again, I don't really know entirely. But I can honestly see that this story honestly has a very good concept of what it is. But if I'm going to be brutally honest, I really do like this story. I mean, I really do wish we get information of what exactly it was. Was it like paranormal? Was it an evil spirit? Hell, was it even somebody playing a prank? That's one of the questions we don't even know. And I'm gonna be frank here. I honestly really wish there was like a part 2 to this tool shed story, because if there was like a part 2 or something, that would honestly be a pretty um interesting thing. Now, I know that this is most likely a wild animal in the shed. Like, it's probably just because maybe there was something that snuck into the shed. I really don't know, to be completely honest. So, I'm just gonna sit there and just say, well, yeah. I'm gonna be 100% honest when I see it. So, yeah. Yeah, so with that being said, I do like the concept. It seemed pretty good. I also wish there was maybe a part two so we can actually know what happens to the protagonist because it kind of ended on a cliffhanger. Basically, the protagonist falls to his knees, and just drop the shovel. They're exhausted and they give up. Like, didn't they get the cops involved to find out what was going on? Did they do something? Like, I mean, I really don't know. To be completely honest, I really don't know, to be completely fair. And to be completely honest when I say this. So, yeah. Anyways, I guess with that being said, the grammar is pretty good as well as the sentence structuring. Um, Storyline seemed pretty simple enough as well as a good concept. I mean, it seemed like a pretty good creepypasta involving a tool shed. Now, not a lot of creepypastas really do involve, tool sheds, but this one honestly includes one, which it seems to be a pretty good concept for it. So, yeah. I mean, with that being the case, I mean, I do find it to be a pretty good story. So, with that being said, I'm going to sit here and say this right now. Like I'm going to say, this is just simply my own personal opinion. And if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas. This is just simply my own personal thoughts. I'm giving this story a 10 out of 10. I mean, well, scratch 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Mainly because the story ended on a cliffhanger. Like, we don't know what happened to the protagonist. Like, did he get killed by whatever was in the shed? Did he escape? I mean, it's leaving us a bunch of questions to make us believe what actually happened. I mean, to be honest, I mean, this is leaving us a bunch of questions. So, with that being said, I'm going to sit here and say, I mean, if there was a part two of this story, I'm sure that would definitely give us like a little bit more information as to what actually happened in that. So, yeah, with that being said, what did you guys think about this story? Did you enjoy it? Did you all not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you're brand new here to this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.